welcome back to Bourbon Real Talk. I'm your host, Scott Minton. We are back in the Brock Bourbon Bar. Did I get it right this time?
Yep.
Hot damn, look at me, I'm winning, I'm learning. And this is an episode all about Barbara and her love for the rye whiskey. So she's trying to get us drunk because she's got 5 bottles out here today. And Barbara, why don't you walk us through what we are going to partake on today and go from there?
Okay, so the very first one we're going to do is a Blue Run Kentucky Straight Golden Rye Whiskey. The first 2 are birthday bottles for me for this year. I'm not going to give any of the flavors or anything away. I'm going to let you all decide on your own. But anyway, so the Blue Run, then we've got the Blackened Willett Rye, then we've got the Starlight Single Barrel Rye finished in Apple Brandy.
That's a fresh crack.
That's a fresh crack, exactly, agreed. And we have the Single Barrel Huber's Rye in Cognac bottles, or barrels. And then we have the Bear Wallow Liar's Bench.
All right, 5 bottles. All of them are barrel strength, if I'm correct.
I believe so.
Now, we are going to drink these a little out of order on cask strength value. We definitely put the strongest one for last, but
there's a reason.
There's definitely a reason, because I've actually had this bottle. I'm super excited to try it on air, though, so that way people can maybe enjoy it with us, but we'll just kind of go from there. So the Blue Run, Nick's kind of told us all about Blue Run, their, kind of history, what they're doing, how they're sourcing. So I'm ready to dive into this bad boy. I'll let you guys get a little nose on it, get a little taste, tell me what you think, and then we're not going to let Barb talk too much other than let her ask us what do we think, since she's already killed half these bottles already,
Except for number 3.
Okay, true.
Again,
number 3.
Remember, it's a fresh crack. I don't have a clue.
We're going to get more of Barb's tasting notes for number 3 than for the rest of them. So this Blue Run, dude, straight up bubblegum.
Yeah, it was there was a little bit of hint of bubblegum whenever I was doing my review of this.
Yep, bubblegum. Man, there's some kind of weird fruit there.
Yeah, whenever I was, I think I was getting almost, I typically go to apricot because it's typically associated with ryes, but this was not quite apricot. It was just off of that, and then I'm trying to remember what it was.
I'm getting like a nectarine or a
I was
plum.
going to say nectarine.
Nectarine or plum.
That's what nectarine is where I go much more.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was like the mandarin orange or is it nectarine, but yeah, I see where you're going at with the nectarine on that, because it has that nice the sweetness that on that nose you get.
Oh man, that's delicious.
Now, I do have a confession to make.
Oh God, here we go. I knew we couldn't keep her quiet for long.
Number 1.
So, of these, aside from number 3, which I haven't had yet, 1, 2, and 4, I have not done with water.
Okay.
So, of those, as we taste them, when we add the water, I have not done those yet.
All right. So I get a little bit of that, and honestly, on the palate, it's more of a peach than it is nectarine or plum or any of those other things. But that bubblegum's coming through, it's almost like double mint, that spearmint type bubblegum, but it's sweeter than that. The mint doesn't really come through, but it's very, very light and kind of like a refreshing type. The mint's kind of almost like it's the spicy part of it, not the earthy part of it. I guess would be the best way I would explain that.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. I think I always got kind of like a peachy, and I think part of me got almost like a ripe mango to it.
Ooh, I'll let you mention that. I kind of get that on the mid palate.
Yes.
Yep. No, I get that.
Right on the mid. Agreed. Now, again, like I said, I've not done these with water.
Yeah, neither have I.
Once again, interruption number 2. Gosh. I mean, just because she put out the bottles and she gets to walk us through it, now she wants to talk about them too. Jeez, I tell you.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the pour, the fifth one.
Jeez, my niece, dude. I know, she's got like a half gallon over there, and the 4th and 5th pours over there for you, Nick. Kind of feel bad for you. Good thing you don't have to drive home.
Yeah, I don't have to drive home. We're home.
Barbara's
but at
face
the same time,
her face is so damn red, dude. I've done caught her off guard. She wasn't expecting it.
no. But at the same time, I was very, very kind to him on number 2.
So the nose just dies with the water in there.
Agreed.
You get a little bit of that bubble gum or that rye, but it's just weird. I
like it better without the water.
Yeah, me too. At least on the smell. I haven't tried it yet. So
No, on the taste as well.
For some reason, the nose doesn't change a whole lot for me, just a little bit. It almost makes it just lighter of what the previous nose
So
was.
this is the first time I'm going to say this, Nick. I mean, Nick and Steven. The rye actually dies with water. Like
Agreed.
usually you get a
It does.
pop, but like it literally just dies out. Like,
We had one other one that did that
was it?
recently. I don't remember what it was. But
You know, you might be right. But like literally, like the rye is just almost. That's so weird.
for
Yeah,
the most part,
I get a lot of like barley or malted something, like almost
Agreed.
like something weird in there.
It's
like,
that malted. I think it's the malted is what I'm getting.
Yeah. I don't know. Huh. But usually that rye pops. I mean, like Steven and I were talking about, I mean, almost 100% of the time the rye will pop just a hair.
With a little bit of water, exactly.
bit of water.
And then I think that's also really kind of cool that I've not done most of these with water. So this is brand new for me as well.
Number 3. All right. Blackened Willett.
what's the over/under on interruptions?
I don't know.
I'm saying 11.
10 and 15. I don't know.
I'm saying over 11.
Well, you get into her specialty. She's going to make sure she gives her opinion.
Listen, I
She
appreciate
gives her
it.
opinion regardless.
We're going to name an entire episode after her. I guess we got to let her talk a little bit more. All right. So I do love the nose on this one. Like I've had it a couple of times. So this is finished at what, in a Madeira cask? Is that what these are finished in?
Yes.
Couldn't remember if it was that or
Correct.
Pinot.
No, it has a nice sweet smell to it. It's to me it kind of lured me in. This is actually not one of my favorites for a couple other obvious reasons to the people here, but it lured me in because it has a nice, just smooth, sweet smell to it.
It does. It's got a great nose on it. Oddly enough, it doesn't smell like Madeira to me, though. It smells like more like a Pinot or more like a Cab, something like that. All right.
Weirdly enough, it smells almost like a peach sweetness to it, at least from the nose.
I'm not sure what to think about this one.
So it's just so minty. Like, I mean, it's just so minty. Like,
It is
it's
that.
just, it's like,
And that lingers.
I'm laying in a field of clover with mint, and I'm just picking it up off the ground and chewing on it. It's
Yeah,
like,
I am not a fan of mint, and the funny thing is that whenever I got this for Barbara for her birthday,
Right.
this was one of the two bottles I got for her birthday, and I was like, these are right up her alley. She's gonna love them, enjoy them, and so she had actually the first taste of it before I had a taste of it, and she's like, "Oh man, I get this, but there's this one thing I'm just not picking out, and I'm not sure what it is." And then as soon as I try it, I'm like going, "That's mint. It's really mint. Wow, that's mint." And she goes, "You know what? You're right." And I am not a fan of mint.
yeah, I mean, it's almost like it's a mint julep without being a mint julep. I mean,
Right.
I would almost say that
Like
yes.
you take the mint and you crushed it up in the bottom of your bourbon glass and you just poured it on top of it and you didn't add any of the simple syrup. You didn't add anything else to it. But there you go.
It is on the palate. All I get is like heavy mint.
Yeah. The finish is good. And I do appreciate the finish because it stays right above the collarbone, but it's got some nice warmth to it, that nice Kentucky hug. But man, I tell you, that's just so much mint. Like the Madeira just doesn't even come through it, at least in my humble opinion. Now, maybe I'm completely off, but I don't know.
But then, of course, I love mint.
I love mint. Mint is so good.
I do.
I mean, I get a little of the Madeira cask, that sweetness that would come from that wine, maybe in the finish a little bit, as
Yeah.
it just kind of just eases down and in. But that mint stays on that mid palate for so long, and that's what kind of draws me away from it.
All right, let's see what this water does
I
to
get
it.
more of the sweetness with water.
Maybe.
Fortunately, less mint.
Yeah.
So is less mint with the water, Steve?
To me,
Maybe this can be
your
redeemable.
mileage may vary.
Maybe this can be redeemable with a little bit of water if this mint goes away.
For you, I'm not sure. I do agree with Steve that there's not as much of that mint,
So the mint does die down.
but I still think it's there.
Oh, it's
No,
definitely
it's
still there.
there.
It's definitely still there. I tell you what, I bet with a block of ice,
That coldness, I think, probably will.
A, add some chill to it, but B, as it waters down and it kind of, I think it would mellow out that mint enough that where I think I could really enjoy that.
This is one of the few things I would really drink with ice.
I will agree with
makes
that
a
because
huge
having just a little bit of water with this, I get the rye pop into this.
We get the rye.
I get more rye than I get mint. The mint kind of goes to the side a little bit. It's still there,
Yep.
but not as defined,
Right.
as what it was.
Like you said, you got rye, mint, a little bit of like subtle sweetness. And honestly, I can't really put it's almost like a toffee. Because it's not caramel and it's not maybe like the brittle, like peanut brittle, like just in that mid palate.
Werther's.
Yeah, Werther's Original, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
almost that little caramelly sweetness.
Yeah, but not caramel though. It's not.
No, it's not really caramel.
No, it's not. You're right.
It's one of those sweeter, like sugary type things, but it's not that. I don't know. It's really hard to put but I get a little bit of
Buttery
that
toffee.
Yeah, like a buttery toffee. Like I said, it's almost like peanut brittle, like that sweetness that comes on that peanut brittle. I don't know. Definitely unique for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's unique, but I mean,
I prefer it with water, 100%.
Yes, I will agree with that too. It actually seems like I could stand it with water, or a nice little ice cube in there would be good for me if I were to have this again.
All right. So what's the proof on that bad boy, Barbara? Like 105 or 10 something, or is it like 90 something?
109.6.
109.6. All right.
Now it is considered cask strength, but that's kind of a lower proofage for cask strength.
Gotcha. All right. So next we're into which one, Barbara? And what's the proof?
We are into the Single Barrel Huber's Rye Whiskey finished in apple brandy, and it is 108.4 proof.
This is one of the family estate ones. Is this the one Ted picked?
Look at the bottom.
Is
If
it
it says
C or T Huber?
It says T. Huber.
All right.
usually the ones with Ted I have noticed are just a little step above his two kids.
So I agree to a certain point. I think Ted's ryes definitely do. The bourbons, I have a tendency to fall under Blake for the bourbon, but for a lot of the finishes, I really enjoy Christian stuff. Like
I would agree completely with that. Blake's bourbons seem to really hit the spot.
Yep.
Christian is more of the finished guy.
Yep. And Ted's ryes, like any of the things that Ted does that is rye forward, I feel like are just really, really good. So the nose on this is very different.
Yeah, you get the rye in it, and you get like subtle apple sweetness in the nose.
But it's not apple. It's like it's like the sweety portion of the apple. Like when you smell an apple and you smell the sweetness, like what you said. But it's not like apple. Like it's weird.
It's not the peel of the apple. It's the inside of the apple.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like the flesh part of the apple.
Yeah, the flesh part.
It's definitely,
And you don't smell the proofage in there at all.
No, not at all.
which is unusual because usually when you add brandy to anything or that Applejack, I wonder if this was really the Applejack or if it was actually the apple brandy because they label them both the same. Definitely unique on the nose.
You would never know what the proof was, what it is.
Not on the nose for sure.
Not on the taste either.
Neither taste. I haven't tried it yet, so I'm still nosing it.
Very subtle.
Yeah,
Very
I get a very rye forward spice to it, and now I'm getting a few sweet notes towards the end of the palate. You know, of maybe just a little bit of apple, but that rye overtakes that apple, so I don't really get much of the apple in there in the actual taste. I get more of the like a pronounced rye.
Yeah, to me, it's definitely very, very, very rye forward. Like I get very little of the apple, and the rye is it's hot rye.
It is a hotter rye, which for me, I mean, I love a good rye.
I do too, but Ted's ryes are not normally like this. I'm kind of surprised that it's as hot as it is.
I don't find it to be that hot, personally.
You don't find the mid palate to be a little heavy on the heat as far as like the rye taste portion of
No,
it?
not at all.
Yeah, I get a little the mid palate, kind of like almost like a cinnamon heat to it out of that rye.
Yeah, it's that rye, that cinnamon. I agree completely.
There's a touch of mint too, right in the mid palate, just a touch. And it might be that the Blackened's kind of waving over into it.
Yeah, I tried to take a few drinks of water.
I did too. I probably should have taken a little sip of soda or Bundaberg. Oh man, I'm funny. I don't know why. All right, water definitely opens up the nose. You get a little
that
bit more
nose.
of that.
I get a whole lot more apple.
Yeah, you get a little more apple. You get a little bit of baking spice. The rye actually comes down on the nose.
Little apple pie.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a Dutch apple, like more of the baking spice apple side, not the crusty.
Yeah, the Dutch apple.
Yeah.
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 It's that caramel Dutch.
Yep, for sure.
Wow, that flavor is amazing.
Oh yeah, I get a lot more burst after the water.
Yeah.
I get a burst. I get I get the burst of cinnamon. But it dies down quicker. It doesn't retain. I get a little bit more rye as baking spice, and then I get a little bit of the apple. That apple
caramel
flesh comes into it,
and I get that caramel.
So I would absolutely recommend that to be with water or just a little bit of ice.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think a block of ice would be delicious on that bad boy. Really, really bring it back. Very similar to the apple. So, 100%. I get where you're coming from there. So. All right. While we're looking at these last two bottles, I brought Barbara a little present, and since this episode's about Barbara and we want to hear her talk so much, so she told us how much Werner's is the best ginger ale.
Oh yes, yeah. The Werner's before this time I've never heard Werner's. Before I married her, it was always, Canadian dry, or Canada dry in the basics.
Right.
So then all of a sudden, I date her, and then she's like going, "Oh, have you had this thing called Werner's?" I was like, "Where's it from?" Detroit. Well, why would I know that?
Why would I know anything about Detroit? Exactly right.
So yeah, and so she brings that in. I mean, it's good. I mean, Werner's is good, but she's going to have to enjoy that. But, against your recommendations of the Bundaberg.
So I brought two different varieties of Bundaberg. So,
yes, you did.
So I'm going to let you try them. Now, I'm assuming you got them in order, like you know which ones are which. I would recommend drinking the standard before the Christmas blend.
And that's exactly what I was just thinking. I'm like, I've got the Christmas blend first and then the regular. So I'm thinking definitely go for the regular first and then go to the Christmas.
Absolutely.
Most certainly. So in between here we go.
I mean, you can just drink it. We can still talk about the other things, but I wanted you to try these and then tell people what you think versus your Werner's.
My Werner's. Well, and I think there's always still, you have to, even though obviously this isn't a bourbon or a rye or anything, you still have to kind of get that smell. You always have to do like as many senses as you can.
100. Plus, taste is like 80% of your taste is your smell. It's your nose. That's the reason when people get COVID, and they lose their sense of smell, they lose their taste. Really, it's more about the fact that their smell is gone.
Yeah, with Werner's, it for those that have ever tried Werner's, it's always worth hey, give that 2 liter a shot at Kroger or wherever you have, because it's kind of like a little bit of a wood finish to it. That they do, but I just
find Werner's to be, it doesn't have the bite that I want it to have. For me, Bundaberg, and then there's a chicken cock or like one of the cock and bull or rooster and bull or something like that, and then there's a couple of the Jamaicans, and then the true North Carolina like ginger ale, like all those are like so much more like that ginger just really comes through. Okay. So that's one of the reasons why I appreciate those. So Barbara, what do you think about the first one?
I haven't quite decided.
Okay, that's fine. All right, well, I'm going to dive in on this
let's see,
Cognac finished rye.
Yep, the Cognac, the
while she's trying that.
The Starlight Cognac, single barrel Cognac.
And I can tell Barbara's had plenty of this bottle, so she doesn't really need to try it with without water.
The first night we picked that thing up, I mean, we both sampled it, and we're like going, wow.
So I'm going to preface this by everybody that knows me knows that I'm not a Cognac fan, so I'm going to dive in on this, and I'm going to see what I think and kind of go from there.
Now, for me, the kind of rye and Cognac gives that, it is actually blended extremely well, that you get a little, you get the hint of rye coming into it, but then it's kind of like a sweet finish to it. At least that's what I get whenever I kind of, just from a nose.
Yeah, the nose is It's more Cognac. I mean, like, it's got a lot more of that Cognac nose, a little bit more of those sweet notes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's got a little bit of booziness to it.
What's the proof on that?
I'm guessing just off the nose, probably about 108.
109.4.
Dang.
That's pretty darn close.
Now, the question is it who is it Christian or Blake?
Or is it Ted? TC or B? She's had too much to drink. She can't tell what initial that is at the front.
There are no initials.
Is this a barrel pick? Like, is it dated? So it's one of the orphan barrels?
No.
It's selected by Launch Capital partners.
So
Gotcha.
I ended up getting I think that I picked this one up as a barrel pick. So
Yeah.
sorry.
That's okay. It's all good. So they didn't select it, but somebody definitely distilled it.
Yeah, for me the rye is subtle throughout this whole thing. It's like, front, mid is a very subtle rye spice, and then it's smooth, and then there's like a hint of sweetness, and it just kind of finishes mid low.
I get a whole lot of cinnamon.
So I get where you're coming from on the cinnamon, but to me, I get the cinnamon, but it's almost like it's another spice that's mixed in with it.
Yeah, this is the one where I kind of think is almost like a
Clove, cardamom, nutmeg.
I was thinking kind of like nutmeg, almost an
Allspice.
non-heated allspice.
Yes.
Cardamom.
Cardamom. And I usually don't get cardamom on bourbon. Like, we literally just had this conversation like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Nick said, "Oh, I get cardamom." And I'm like, you know what? I get that, but I hardly ever get it on bourbon.
But yeah, this rye really is. I mean, without water, it's smooth. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the cognac actually comes through here to where it evens it out. It doesn't. I don't see anything really popping or being excessive in any way throughout the palate of this. From the finish,
Right.
And it just it's smooth the entire way through. Now, from a non-cognac drinker, or like somebody who doesn't prefer cognac, does the rye kind of even it out a little bit for you?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, so I like this. I really enjoy it. But like I said, cognacs I don't typically have a fond kinship for. I'm more of an Armagnac guy if I'm going to drink kind of that, what I would call Western European liqueur or liquor. But yeah, I mean, I really like it. I will tell you though, man, go back and smell that Willett. I keep going back and I keep smelling 1, 2, and 3, but 2 just really pops for me.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
The nose is really, really driving on that one really hard. I don't have enough left to drink, but I kind of just get that remnants of it. But
I get blueberry.
that's bullshit. Nobody gets blueberry. That's bullshit. I'm calling bullshit. Nobody gets blue. We literally did you listen to the podcast like 3 weeks ago?
I did not.
Because I was giving Nick some bullshit. Like he's literally, somebody said something, and I was like, these motherfuckers, I did it again. These people that come out here and be like, oh, I get blueberry. Like, blueberry? How do you, I don't even know what a blueberry tastes like. I mean, I've eaten a million blueberries, and I don't know what they taste like. I definitely don't know what they smell like.
Considering I have 2 children who love blueberries, I'm very good.
I have
at
a million blueberries in my house, but I literally, every time I eat a blueberry, you know what a blueberry tastes like? It just tastes like earthy sweetness. Like, that's it. Like, there's no discerning like flavor, like, or anything like that. So when somebody says blueberry, like, it kills me. Like, and I swear to God, Charlie Smith, when you listen to this episode, you're going to give me so much shit because you know that because he said we should come out with a shirt that says Bourbon Barrel Talk, just a cup of drop of waters, or hashtag I taste blueberries, or I can't taste blueberries. I'm like, that's some funny shit right there. So, but like, you're the first person that's ever been on the podcast be like, oh, I get blueberries.
I don't know if I get blueberry, but I get some different sweetness that I didn't on the original, and it's a fruit sweetness. It's not like it's a, I'm not going to go as far as blueberry, but there is a fruit sweetness.
I think the wine's coming through at this point, right?
I think so. That Madeira cask.
The Madeira cask. And,
yeah,
absolutely. Moderna. And we've been around the COVID world for way too long.
Yeah, we have absolutely.
The Moderna cask. Let's hope there's no COVID shot in this thread, boy. Oh goodness! All right, so I'm getting ready to dive in on this bear wallow, but I've got to know Bundaberg.
I don't think she's tried the other one yet.
I have not done. I've only done the one.
All right, so we've done the one.
She's killing the one. She says you have to leave a little bit left to that one to compare.
Well, duh.
All right.
She's not a rookie, man. Come on.
Well, she hasn't dived in the second one yet.
I have not, because we turned right around and did the rye and cognac. I had to help you all.
Yeah, I like the cognac. I do.
All right,
really
let's
do.
try this spiced here.
Yep.
Now, as we get into before we get into that, as she's doing her tasting, the fair warning for anybody who has seen the Bear Wallow, it's a silver. The Liar's Bench is a silver cover on it.
Yep.
And it is around 127, I believe, proof.
Yep.
And it is incredibly complex. I will say that, this is the fair warning of getting into it. It tends to be a palate killer. Now, whenever I say palate killer, I mean that it lingers. It's viscous.
A, it lingers. It's very viscousy. And C, probably not a whole lot you're going to taste after drinking this bad boy.
Exactly. That's why it's last.
And it's not because it's bad, because I think it's delicious. And we'll talk more about that as we get into this bad boy. But it's just something that is definitely, it's one of the most unique ryes I've tried in probably 3 or 4 years for sure. I don't know that it's the best rye I've tried in 3 or 4 years, but it's definitely one of the most unique.
Absolutely. All right. And the verdict on the Bundaberg.
On the Bundaberg, I am not 100% sold on the original.
On the original, okay.
The original actually seems very bland to me.
Very bland.
Very bland.
Okay.
Of the two, I really do prefer the spice.
The Christmas spice?
This
Yep.
Christmas spice. And again, it very well may have something to do with the fact that I love rye and those cooking spices.
Yep.
I do have a whole lot more of those that kind of pop through on that one
Yep.
for me. But yeah, no, the original.
I still
Nope.
think the original is better than Verner's.
Nope, I don't agree.
Okay. All right. We'll
To each their own.
We'll agree to disagree.
I agree. I am okay with that. Again, like I said, my motto has always been to each their own, and I am going to agree with you on that one.
100. All right. So this Bear Wallow.
The huge pour I got on this one. Jeez.
I was about to say, I know. You're going to have to buy another bottle because Barbara keeps pouring pours for you.
If she keeps these pours up, I will absolutely have to. Jeez.
So the nose on this thing is actually, it's not as complex as the flavor profile when you taste it, but it's got some sweet notes on the nose. The rye spice definitely comes through. It gives a little bit of that burn, but I think the burn might be coming too also from that 127 proof.
Yeah, as I said, well, as you mentioned, there's a sweetness that just comes through at the very beginning of that. And then you get those baking spices in there that kind of follow right behind that sweetness. But I'm kind of jaded on this because I've tasted this before. But the nose, it is extremely sweet, and then just kind of segues into like a little bit of a spice, and then
Barbara's loving this one. She's diving in, smiling.
it's one of the funny thing about this. I just tasted this, and what I warn people about this, and we were warned ourselves whenever we first tasted it, is that you are going to be inundated on things as the taste is so complex that you're going to pick out 15, 20 things all of a sudden. So that, it's going to be bam, you're hit with this, bam, you're hit with this, bam, you're hit with this, bam, you're hit with this. And then all of a sudden it just kind of like soothes out at the very end. You get that you hit. The thing is that you don't really taste that proofage, but the proofage comes in with more of the complexity in this.
No, 100% I agree with what you're saying. And it's all coming through because of the fact that it's higher proof, but B, it's the flavor profile that was built into this one. And I'm wondering if this wasn't aged in like a 25-gallon barrel versus a 53, one of the smaller barrels, like what we call speed aging, I guess, in some capacity, right?
Yeah, that's actually a good thing that, if you ever want to have a topic about at some point in time is that I've known, or we've been hearing a lot lately about many of the new distilleries that are popping up are doing the climate controlled, rick houses,
right,
that they can speed age things based on, controlling that temperature.
Well, the reason I'm thinking more on the speed aging as far as like a smaller barrel, and I'm pretty sure that this was close to 4 years old or just over 4 years old, is the fact that, hey, look at the color on it. Like, it's dark. Like, it's the darkest thing we're trying today by far.
Absolutely.
And then B, as much of the complexity you get from the rye, that sweetness, the sugar notes, a little bit of the caramel, things like that, you get a ton of wood, and you don't typically get a lot of wood on ryes. Because the rye typically will override the wood. So my best guess is that this was probably finished in like a 25-gallon or something like that, or a 10-gallon cask or something of that nature. And Barb's smiling over there. I don't know why.
Barbara's smiling because she actually finally read the back.
Finally actually read the back.
So I'm going to read it for you.
All right.
After the Revolutionary War, the main drink of the young nation switched from rum to rye whiskey. Rum was identified with Great Britain, and the new America wanted a drink of their own. At one time, George Washington was the largest distiller in the country, and the primary spirit he produced was rye whiskey. Lyre's Bench whiskey is handcrafted using spicy Indiana rum or Indiana rye, and is named after the bench that still stands at the old courthouse lawn in Nashville, Indiana, where it is documented that moonshiners, quotations, and other more prominent town folks used to hang out. That is very kind of interesting.
So you were smiling. I thought you were going to tell me that I was right, that it was rapid aged in like a 25-gallon barrel, where you just told me the story of Little Nashville, basically, which is okay. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything about how much it was aged or anything. It just says that it's barrel number 302 and that it was bottled number 65.
I don't know. I'm kind of curious. Does it say how out of how many bottles?
It does not.
Okay. So no help there either.
No, but I do agree.
I've been trying to
with you.
interview these people for a while. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's all right. But yes, this is clearly the darkest of them all, between all of them. And I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of water in there. I don't know if you guys have already put a little bit of water in it yet, but I've in the past have already put a little bit of water in this, and usually I typically drink this with a little bit of ice or water with it, just because of the simple fact that the notes start slowing down, because it's hard to describe this for people, especially over unless you've actually had this, that the notes come at you so fast with this that your tongue and taste buds can are hitting at many different levels of this between your front and back palate, that it keeps hitting on so many different notes. But once you actually add a little bit of water to it, it slows those notes down just a little bit, and then you start really picking out a lot of things for you. I remember, a few things, but right before, I added the water, I was just trying to think of a few things that were hitting for me, and it was just a lot of, I got the, heavy rice spice, but then you get different sections. I almost got like peanut butter almost at the finish before the water got added. It was really weird, but I mean, I'm trying to recall back to about 3 or 4 things that hit, but the more memorable ones was that.
Yeah, I don't know that I get peanut butter, but I get something in that category. Like, and I think it's more of the way that it coats your mouth and lingers kind of in there, that type of thing. Like, how peanut butter sticks to the side of your jaws and your teeth and everywhere. Mm-hmm. I kind of get that aspect of peanut butter when you say that, and maybe that's what you're talking about. But man, it's just so many spices, like you said. I mean, it's like cardamom, nutmeg, cinnamon. Like, I mean, like I could throw like a million spices out of the spice rack, and it's all right there.
Agreed. Every single one of them hits hard. And it's at the same time, once you add that water, it really hits even harder.
But it slows it down. It accentuates it, but it slows it down to where you can actually pick them out.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I still don't know that I prefer it with water than to neat, though. I don't know. That's really, really odd.
Yeah, this one is definitely one that is so unique that I think it really, really 100% depends on a person's preference.
This is not an entry level rye.
Oh no!
Not a chance. Not a chance. Definitely do not start with this one in any way, shape, or form. This one you definitely need to have a much more complex idea of what ryes you prefer versus what you don't, to figure out whether or not you like this sucker.
Yeah, I would not come into this as like, if you've never had a rye before, I would not start with this.
No.
This is going to be the most complex. I would build up to this.
You would definitely want a couple of different barrel strength ryes. I would even say, honestly, like I would put this more in the family of almost MGP rye-ish, like those barrel strength MGP ryes. Like it's kind of, to me, it's more heavy on the rye. Like I'm guessing this is probably in the 80% rye market. You know, it doesn't say the mash bill. I did look at that.
Okay, I was going to look at it.
But that would be my guess. Is it's a higher rye than your typical rye would be, because a lot of people are hitting 60 to 70% rye on the high side, whereas that MGP is that 95.5. So
I would almost take this up against put this up against maybe some Buzzard's Roost and some Michter's rye. The barrel strength rye.
Yeah, you could probably blind those against there.
That would be an interesting blind. I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, especially the barrel strength. I think you could definitely tell the difference, and it would be too easy against anything that's going to be non-barrel strength. But I remember a couple. Did you all ever get the double 69 barrel from Louisville Bourbon Hounds?
No, unfortunately not.
All right, I'll bring a sample of that over one time, but let you try it. But it was an MGP rye, the Nulu one, so it's very, very tasty, and it actually kind of reminds me a little bit of this one. So
okay, I
don't know. So all right, we got to rank these 1 to 5, and then we'll sign off with this bad boy.
This is gonna be the most difficult thing that Barbara's ever done in the past couple of weeks.
I'm gonna go first, and then I'll let Barbara think. We'll since this is all about Barbara, we'll let her go last.
That would be fabulous.
I think I'm actually, and this might be totally crazy. Y'all might think I'm nuts. I think I'm going to go 5, the Liar's Bench first, Blue Run second. Then I'm going to go with the Applejack 3, Blackened, and then the Cognac. So I'm going to go 5, 1, 3, 2, 4.
That's impressive. You've already kind of expressed your Cognac isness to this.
So I really like the Cognac. Like it was, honestly, in the mid 3, it could have been 3 or 5. Like it could have been anywhere in that mix. The reason I put it at that was, to me, it didn't have the rye bite that I wanted it to have. Like that's the reason I put it 5th. It had nothing to do with the taste, because I think all of these actually are really good. To me, actually, the Blackened is probably the one that I like the least on like the flavor profile, but overall, like with the nose, the taste, how it all's blended, like for some strange reason, I'm going to actually put it a little bit higher.
Let me ask you this before I pick mine. Have any of those picks changed after you added water?
Oh, absolutely. So if I was going to put water in them, like I would definitely probably move a lot of them over the Blue Run. I'd probably go like... Honestly, it probably would change drastically. Like I would put the Liar Bench 2. I would probably put the Applejack 1. So 1, the Liar's Bench 2, 3 on Cognac, 4 on Blue Run, and 5 on Blackened.
Yeah, that's why I want to ask that question, because I will say that pre and post, just adding just a little bit of water changed the Blackened a lot for me.
Yep.
So,
but I still didn't like it as much when I added water. Like even though it changed the complexity of it for sure, I didn't like losing the rye bite that it had.
Absolutely, I'm right on with you. If I could do ranking pre and post water, I would probably go pre-water. I would absolutely do 5 Liar's Bench. I would do Cognac number 4. Blue Run 3, the Apple Brandy Applejack 4, and then the Willett Blackened 5. Now, change that up, adding water. I would almost do the Apple Brandy 1, Liar's Bench 2, Cognac 3, Blackened 4, and then Blue Run 5.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I mean, I think those are very solid picks in that order. All right, now to the rye mistress herself.
All right, to the rye mistress herself, we're going to do before water. I definitely need to do Blackened Willett, Blue Run, Starlight Cognac, Apple Brandy, and then Liar's Branch.
Okay. So Liar's Branch finishes last for you with before water.
Before water.
Gotcha.
Before water, most certainly.
All right. After water?
After water, I am going to need to do Liar's Bench.
Wow. That was a flip.
Had a lot of.
I know. I've had a lot. I'm sorry. So Liar's Bench, Blackened, Cognac, Blue Run, and then Apple.
So we're all over the place.
We are all over the place. And again, I think it completely comes back to what I love to say, which is to each their own.
Yep.
100%. Everybody has their own flavor profiles that they prefer
Yep.
versus everybody else's.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's where I would end up.
To each their own, but I'm right and you're wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
That's not what I said. I said to each their own.
Oh goodness! All right. Well, hey, thanks again for having us over. This was definitely a neat experience because I will tell you, with them all, with most of them being finished products, and then the other two just being your straight ryes, but kind of what I would consider one of them is an extremely high end rye. That Blue Run's pretty expensive, if I remember correctly. They're probably in that 149 to 150 range. Oh, even north of that, 200.
No, it is 100.
Oh, 100. Okay,
Yeah.
So okay, so I was wrong. So actually they really so the Blackened is the most expensive, then Blue Run.
If I could go back and look at it, Blackened technically I got it from 130 at Kroger. Blue Run 100. The Cognac and Apple were about the same, about
$69.99.
$69.99, and I believe the Liar's Bench was $65.
Yeah, I think that's right, $64.99 if I remember correctly. So yeah, so all great pours in their own right. I will say the more I drink this Blackened, the more the mint is still slightly offensive to me on that mid palate, but it's definitely growing on me. I will say that. So I don't know. That's that episode of Bourbon Barrel Talk. So I guess what we'll say is if you want to find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all those good things. You can also hit the subscribe button to make sure you get all of our episodes before anybody else. And then also make sure that you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, all those good things. Hit the like button. Send us in some questions. If you've got questions about something, we'll be glad to answer those. Matter of fact, I think our Q&A episode's coming up this weekend, which you won't hear that right now because you're actually hear it before you hear this episode. But anyway, long story short, this is Scott, Nick, and Barbara signing off because Steven left the house. Goodbye.
Peace out.
Peace out.